this Collin Chandler situation, um, and before we talk about that particular kid specifically, I detest recruiting. I hate the star rating system and his parents and my dad, and he knows this guy, and there's no better system for it. There isn't. There's no way to fix the stupidity, the pettiness, the mongering, the anger, the vitriol over teenagers making decisions on where they're going to go to college. There's no way to fix it. And if there was ever an example, it is Collin Chandler choosing BYU over Utah. And the idea, of course, is from Ute fans that somehow somebody delivered a bag of money to Collin Chandler. That's the only reason he would flip. Well, never mind that Collin Chandler announced right afterward that he was going to serve a church mission. He's not going to play at BYU until 2024. And the reason that he says that he went to BYU was because momentum in the basketball program and he wants to play against Big 12 competition. Which seems perfectly reasonable. And if we're really truth-telling here, the reason he went to BYU very well could be the Big 12. Very well could be that he is obviously LDS and he's going to serve a mission. And most kids that come back off of missions are far more comfortable at BYU. And, oh, by the way, BYU's, name, image, likeness stuff, his ability to make money off the court is exponentially higher at BYU than it is at Utah. So I actually don't think anything nefarious happened here, Jake. I think the kid made a business decision.
Yeah, and I think Utah fans are upset that BYU has all this momentum. I mean, that's what this is, and that's what recruiting comes down to pretty consistently. When you lose the recruiting battle, let's flip-flop it. Let's wind the clocks back 5 years. Hey, Utah was winning all these big recruits, right? And what was the logic then? Well, Utah is just a better program. You have more opportunity to go to the NFL. BYU doesn't put guys in the league or in the NFL or the NBA, whatever, however you want to look at it. Basically Utah is just a better overall opportunity. And now that whole narrative has flipped because of, like Collin said, the momentum in the basketball program, the NIL situation. Like, you have all these things that are, pushing BYU forward, like he said, the opportunity to play Big 12 talent. So to me, I think the whole idea of Utah fans being like, well, he was given a bag of money and that's why he chose BYU is petty. I mean, that's classic Utah fan logic, in my opinion, And I think that at the end of the day, in the state of Utah, BYU has done a phenomenal job of closing the gap between the two programs. And really, at this point, in my opinion, is a step ahead of Utah because of everything that's going on. So, no, I don't think it's I don't think that he was given a bag of money to go to BYU. I think that BYU has some pretty intriguing options right now. And BYU, according to everything that's been written about the situation and how it all went down after his visits and everything like that, BYU does a hell of a job recruiting and painting the picture of what your life will be like if you go to BYU. And I think ultimately, if we really look at it, that's what kids care about. Hey, I wanted to serve a mission. All right, great. Obviously, that's going to swing towards BYU. But then what is campus life like? What is the facility like? Like, if you go on Google and you just search, for this kid's name and put BYU behind it, you're going to see all these pictures that he went ahead and took while he was at BYU after he committed and everything in the basketball arena. He's having fun with it. And that's what I think people don't realize. It's not just a straight up business decision. These kids care about after BYU. What is, am I going to have a good time? Like, all these things come into play. It's not just, man, am I going to get 25 minutes a night playing at BYU? That's not the only factor. And that's why I say, when Utah fan is like, oh, well, he just got a bag of money to go and play at BYU, that's just so obviously not the case based on everything the kid has said. So I just think that that's always going to be what the losing end, whether we're talking Utah, BYU, or any other program, that's always going to be what the losing side says. Oh, well, there's no way that they could have chose that program over ours. It is what it is, man. That's what you're going to deal with in recruiting. But I just think you have to give BYU a lot of credit for getting into the Big 12, for all the scheduling they do, all of these things. They put kids in a position to win, and that's really what I think separates them.
Yeah, and the frustrating thing is that it couldn't be possible that right now I think BYU has a far more aggressive uniform, combination. And kids really like uniforms, and kids like having their pictures taken in football uniforms. And BYU blows them up and puts it on social media and gives the kids the pictures, and the kids put it on social media. And it's fun. It's fun. And BYU's winning big football games, and BYU has a tremendous basketball infrastructure right now. And BYU's a really attractive place to go play basketball and football. Does that mean that Utah is not? No, it certainly does not. And that's the thing that I think has always been the issue on both sides of the line. Whether you wear red or you wear blue, you always feel inferior just because a teenager made a decision that you didn't agree with.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never understood that. If you are Collin Chandler or any other kid in his position, why would you choose Utah over BYU, especially if you were going to serve a mission? Okay, that's an obvious one. But look at the money that kids are making at BYU right now. Look at all the Built Bar stuff. Look at all of the Ryan Smith stuff. Look at all of the opportunity that you have that does not exist right now at Utah. And Utah's going to get name, image, likeness figured out. They will. But right now, they don't have it figured out, frankly. And what's happening at BYU is you have kids that are making money. And you have football teams and basketball teams that are going into the Big 12 that are going to play in huge games. The Big 12 right now, I don't even know how many people realize that the Big 12 is the best basketball conference in the country.
Yeah, I do feel like that flies under the radar.
I mean, I don't think I don't know how many people actually realize that the Big 12 is a strong, strong conference right now. And everybody keeps saying, well, Texas is going to leave and that conference is going to fold. They're not folding. I got news for you. The Big 12 is much more than, Texas and Oklahoma in football. And obviously those are two huge brands. But when you look at the total package, I'm telling you that the Big 12 is healthy. The Big 12 is strong, and they're going to continue to expand. That's going to happen. It's a good place to be. And the issue is that I think on both sides of this rivalry, you're not just going to tip your cap to Collin and say, hey, solid choice, my man. Congratulations. You're going to a fantastic educational institution. You are going to serve a church mission. You are going to play fantastic college basketball. You're probably going to wind up in the NBA. I mean, if you are Collin Chandler, you're going to go on, serve a mission. You're going to come back. Do you think you're going to play 4 years at BYU? You're not. You're going to play a maximum of 2.
Mm-hmm.
So the window is small. The kid's got to make all the money he can make. He's got to get the best education he can get, all at the same time trying to figure out if he's an NBA talent or not. Why would he not go to BYU?
Yeah.
So anyway, the Ryan Smith thing, by the way, I think we also need to talk about that, because why is it a crime that your boosters influence recruits? Do you understand that happens all the time? Does that mean that, oh, he had a bag man? Hey, Ryan Smith, he took a bag of cash. And you really think Ryan Smith rolled up to the Chandler's house like, hey, by the way, you see this metal suitcase? It's full of swag, and you open it up, and what is it, $1,000 bills? Like, what are we talking about?
It's got a BYU hat sitting inside.
Like, are you kidding me? They don't. Why can't it just be that this kid chose BYU over Utah? Why do we have to drag Ryan Smith because a teenager made a decision you don't agree with?
Because Utah fans feel inferior. Utah fans have pride. Utah fans don't ever want to be second to BYU, and I think that Utah fans, yeah, I mean, I think the pride factor is real for Ute fans. Like, I don't mean any disrespect by it, but I legitimately think that that's what it is. There is no possible way that a kid of this caliber, talent-wise, would choose BYU over Utah. And I got news for you. The conversation, yes, is much closer in football. In basketball, I probably would go to BYU myself. Like, it is a better setup. It is a more direct route
I would
to
agree.
the league. I mean, that's just where it's been lately. So, I mean, when's the last time Kyle Kuzma was the last huge recruit to come out of Utah? Is that what we're saying? Like,
No, I
I mean,
think, listen, I think that's the game I don't want to play. I hate this thing where we have to be like, well, let's go back in history. I'm not doing that. Utah is down in basketball right now. It has been an extended period of not doing what everybody thought you would be doing under Coach K. Listen, you went and hired a fantastic coach. You are clearly going in the right direction. And I just don't understand. Like, you have parents of kids on the Utah basketball team tweeting slander at other kids because they chose not to go to Utah. Like, this is ridiculous. They're teenagers making decisions. And if you're trying to figure out what went into a teenager making a decision, I mean, it's insanity. You're never going to be able to figure it out truly. You take the kid at his word until you have a reason not to. And there is no reason not to. In this particular case, no reason at all. And I this is why I hate recruiting.
mm-hmm.
I hate it. In every sport, I can't stand it. Obviously, we don't talk about baseball recruits or soccer recruits, but in basketball and football, oh, he didn't choose my school? Well, he got a bag then. Yeah, he got a bag. No, he didn't. He just didn't choose your school. He chose what was best for him, a teenager, which is why we now have a transfer portal, because, quarterbacks transfer from one school to another and then become quitters so they can transfer to another school. Right? I mean, it goes both ways.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, let's get some comments. Cody Strickland says, "Good morning, boys. Early? No. Right on time." Snuka says, "Hello." Hey, Snuka. Good to see you. Greg Hawkins says, "Good morning, fellas. Go Utes." Drew Hemsley says, "Good day, brethren. May the sports gods guide the path now and always." Absolutely.
Wow.
Giggity says, "Good morning, men. What's up?" Greg Hawkins says, "BYU has done a good job closing the gap, but I disagree with you, Jake. There will always be disadvantages to recruiting at BYU, and the advantages they enjoy, like NIL deals, will increase with Utah." I think the honor code, being a church-based institution is always going to simply, right out of the gate, eliminate a good portion of kids you'd like to come play for you. That's just the reality of it. Now, in the state of Utah, which is, to me, is huge, you have to win Utah to win the recruiting wars here. I think NIL makes a huge difference. I think the brand, I think Kalani, I think Coach Pope, I think winning, going to tournaments, going to bowl games, having access, all that stuff matters. BYU clearly has a momentum right now. It's not even arguable that right now BYU has the momentum in this state. But if you think that Utah is going to be down for long, you're wrong. I mean, Utah is going to figure out the NIL stuff. They are. They're not very good at it right now, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to figure that out. They will. And I think once that happens, once you start just feeling good about your basketball program, there's no better story in the country than Utah football right now. I mean, what they've been through, what they're doing, incredible. Utah basketball has not been good. It's not been good. And once Craig gets that program on the right track, I think they're going to be fine. Because he's a great coach. I think, I'm not going to say it was a coup, but hiring that guy when you hired him is exactly the right move you needed. BYU basketball is solid. Utah basketball is coming. So I think we'll get even. Roy Wall says, "Imagine the endorsement money from Barnes bullets and body armor that will be available from the Utes." Yeah, we get it. Daryl says, "Kids want to play for Pope." They do. They do. He is a really good coach. You know the thing that BYU does that I think Utah has to get better at? BYU paints the picture of life.
Yes.
They give you an opportunity, and they almost force you to visualize prosperity at BYU. Like, they do a great job. Their visits, their experiences. They do a really good job of showing you how good your life will be in Provo. They do a really good job of, hey, we're going to the Big 12. If you don't think these guys are recruiting their asses off based on going to the Big 12, especially for the basketball program, come on.
Yeah.
Like, that's a huge, huge recruiting tool that I think is paying dividends immediately, right? And then you're giving them, like, their swag at BYU, their uniform stuff is
amazing.
elite. It's elite at BYU.
Amazing.
The combinations, the colors, they're and I've said this for I think 2 years on this show. Their multimedia stuff, their videos, their photos, their social. BYU runs circles around every other school in this state, including Utah, in social media, content creation, video, visuals, like, you name it, anything marketing-wise, BYU is dominant.
Well, and if you think about the whole point of kids coming to a college program, it's to get to the next level. I mean, that is, whether you are capable of that or not, that's the whole point of playing college athletics.
Yes.
Like, it is just and especially for a kid like this. I mean, you're talking about a kid who comes out of American Fork, playing at an extremely high level. You can clearly see how his game would translate to the league already, and he just needs development. And I think that's the beauty of the situation at BYU for him. I mean, we can sit here and compare Utah and BYU all day. At the end of the day, when I think about, hey, I'm trying to get to the NBA, what school do I want to go to? I'm not going to Utah to try to get to the NBA. And I'm not trying to hate on Utah, but that's just where it's at, in my opinion.
Yeah, but again, I think Craig Smith can change that for Utah. I think, and this is why, both Pope at BYU, Smith at Utah, these are two guys that can recruit and can build men. Like, these are the right guys. It feels right. I just think it takes time. But right now, there's no reason to drag Collin Chandler because you believe that Ryan Smith showed up at his house with a bag. Like, that's just stupid. You're being foolish. I mean, you're going after, and this is, again, not to be redundant, this is why I hate recruiting. We're attacking teenagers because we don't like the decisions they made.
And by the way, he had a ton of options in the Pac-12. Let's not, it wasn't just Utah.
He could have gone anywhere.
Like, he could have gone really anywhere.
But
yeah.
Ute fans are upset because he espoused as a Utah fan for life, and he winds up at BYU. But how many times have we seen this? I mean, where does Zach Wilson play football? I mean, this is not the first time. So I just think that BYU and Utah will always be passionate rivals. But I just hate that we have to attack people for it. He's if you believe in star ratings and whatnot, he's the highest recruit that BYU has ever gotten in basketball. Like, I mean, he's a very good player. Let the kid have his moment without dragging him. That's all I'm saying. Daryl says kids want to play for Pope. I agree. After his mission, he will play a minimum of 2 years, likely 2 years. Just because he's going to have to rebuild his body, rebuild his game, because he's going to take 2 years and not play much basketball. So it's very difficult for missionaries to stay in shape. We see it in football all the time. I mean, basketball is a little less because it's a lot less physically demanding. And you can usually, basketball is like riding a bike. You can usually get right back to it. So we'll see how it goes for him. I would agree it's 2 years. And now, of course, I shouldn't even read it. Utah fans aren't being treated as the little brother. Aren't used to be treated as the little brother, Chris Beery says. Yeah, I would agree with that. What do you guys think about the Utah fans saying it was unfair for Ryan Smith not supporting all the universities in the state because he owns the Jazz? Do you guys think that is as nuts as I do? Yeah, I think it's dumb. Ryan Smith is a BYU guy. Why he's a gazillionaire? You can't tell him how to spend his money.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Like, the whole Ryan Smith thing. I mean, immediately when the guy bought the Jazz, all he's done is give back to the community. and all he's done is gotten dragged for it. Like the scholarship program's a perfect example. He's giving money to underprivileged kids who wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to go to college. And he's doing it to the tune of 50 scholarships a year. And you're dragging him for it. And I don't understand that. The guy does more for our community than perhaps any other owner in his community, or as much as any other owner. Like Ryan Smith is him and his family, Ryan Smith and his family, they're just good people. Like, and you just don't like that he's a BYU guy. That's why you're dragging him. And anyway.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Roy Wall says, I don't follow pro sports, so I am unaware of the controversy around the Jazz ownership. That's essentially it, is that Ryan Smith's a BYU guy. And he is, I mean, at the very least, he is a booster at BYU. But he's a guy that is a billionaire. And he's a guy that has tons of connections. It's why Dwayne Wade's a minority owner in the Utah Jazz, because he's interested in tech in Silicon Valley. And Ryan Smith has all kinds of connections there. And it's why he's able to give scholarships. It's why he's able to, be part of the recruiting process if he is at BYU. And frankly, if you're a booster of a university and you're not part of the recruiting process, why? If you're giving your money to that university, I would think that you would do everything you could do to make sure that the best and the brightest wind up at that school within the framework of the rules.
Absolutely.
So I don't know why this is even controversial. Why? I mean,
because I think people are just upset that, like you were just saying, hey, the kid was a Utah fan and he winds up at BYU, and then we like to go down the rabbit hole of like what could have happened, and no way he could have just chose BYU over Utah.
But how many Huntsmans and Eccles buildings and people and family and friends? Do you really think that this is exclusive to BYU? Do you think this sort of booster, influence doesn't happen at Utah? Absolutely it does.
Yeah.
Absolutely it does. How do you feel if you're Utah State in this conversation? You don't even have a dog in the fight. I mean, are you kidding me? Like, it's all fair in love and war, man. It is what it is. It's not a problem. Honest to God. It is not a problem. And I just don't understand why you want a single entity to support everybody. But yet when we look at things like gun laws and tax code and, we can't tax the rich more. Right? But all of a sudden we want to tell them that they have to support every school or no school. Are you serious, man?
Sounds like we're on theme for this week. We need to be nice.
Yeah, it's America, dude. Don't tell me how to live my life. Right? What are you talking about? James Knight says, "Give me a Mo Bamba." He wants
people are about this Mo Bamba.
He wants a Mo Bamba.
Bro.
Shout out to Mo Bamba.
I got rid of Twitter a few years ago. Roy Wall says, "Good for you." Greg Hawkins says, "I really see no problem with Ryan Smith here. Support BYU doesn't mean he's trying to hurt Utah or Utah State. He's not. He's really not." And then how come I don't see the name Eccles on buildings and Huntsman on buildings at BYU and Utah State and UVU and Weber, and every donor now has to support nah, get out of here with that. Snuka says Blue Powerade for everyone this morning. Exactly right.
Facts.
Spencer Evans says, I think it's absurd for people to be upset. He supports his alma mater. It's dumb.
Yeah.
It's dumb. It really is dumb. Dop Hop says in due time with Utah basketball, it's not a matter of if. With Craig Smith there and the infrastructure, and it's when. The running Utes will be back, trust me. And BYU fan, it's probably sooner than you would like, because I think they have a chance to, in the next 2 years, they have a chance to win some games that they have no business winning. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Giggity says maybe Joseph Smith showed up at the kid's house. Yeah, I mean,
God bless.
Yeah, Greg Hawkins says Utah basketball is rebuilding. We don't have a great program yet. BYU has a better basketball program ever since I was a student in 2011. I don't really blame recruits for choosing the Y right now. That's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
see, but Greg, you're trying to be like rational and you're smart and, you know, you're a free thinker. What are you doing here? Like,
And as you can see, I'm going through some shit right now.
Yeah, can you leave? Because that's not, right? Like, the rational thought is not welcome when it comes to recruiting.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Or the conversation about BYU and Utah.
I also think,
it's
listen,
not welcome.
I also think the Ryan Smith thing, I think a lot of people are like, well, he's the owner of the Jazz, and so he wants to control the narrative in the state so he can get these players to come to the Jazz. I've also seen that around, and that obviously doesn't make sense. But I just think it goes to show you, like, just the level of down the rabbit hole people are willing to go to push a narrative. And I just think it is what it is. Do I wish that, you know, there was a better system for recruiting? Yeah, I do. Do I wish there was a better system for the college football playoff? Yeah, I do. But there's not. And this is what we have to deal with. So, you know, it just is what it is. But I think at the end of the day, you know, I think I would love nothing more than both of these programs to be really good and to square off against each other. That's what I would love to see. And hopefully Utah does that inside of 2 years. Hopefully. But we'll see.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Okay, so now it's time. Eric C. has arrived.
Oh, boy.
And he would like to know how much are San Diego State winning by tomorrow. I thought doesn't San Diego. See, Eric, you've wrecked my life. I want you to know this, and I'm very disappointed in you.
By the way, do you have Twitter?
I don't know if Eric C. has Twitter, but Eric, I want you to know you've wrecked my life because I know that I believe San Diego State plays Nevada on Saturday, right? Do they not? Like, you've made me start paying attention to San Diego State, and I hate you for it.
Facts.
Exactly. But congratulations on having the best punter literally in the history of college football.
Yeah.
All right, now go be irrelevant again. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. The thing that's really interesting to me is that I that's what I love about doing this show. Like the Eric C's of the world make this show.